Good evening and welcome to this pre-match preview. 1 hour to go, Josh, into a massive game in the Champions League. Josh, how are you feeling? How's Switzerland?
Switzerland is good, Euan. I've had a good day. Good day. It's obviously an hour ahead here, so it's getting towards 7:30 just now. But looking forward to the game. The stadium is really nice. The views from the stadium are really nice as well. You can see all that on social media, and I think the team's a pretty attacking team. I think it's true to Beale's judgment yesterday that Rangers have not come to sit in and they'll attack the game. Despite travelling over here with a lead. Servette, obviously, selling out their crowd for the first time in 20 years. The atmosphere around the stadium has been really good. So, all set up for a great night. I guess just up for Rangers now to go and put in a big performance. And if they can get through tonight, it will be a good start to the season overall. Really important they do it because they should go through, I think, on the basis of last week, but should and actually doing it are two very separate things. But yeah, I think after seeing the team, I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's get the team up on the screen for everyone to look at. We kind of predicted 11s yesterday, Josh, and there's only kind of one difference both had, and that's Fuentes is in, and Sam Lammers is on the bench. Campbell play a higher role. This could be a 4-3 like that, or it could be a 4-3-1-2 with Cantwell coming in and Danilo and Sima as the kind of two strikers. How do you think Michael Beale will line up in terms of the positions of those attacking players?
I presume it'll be a 4-3-3 off the ball because Rangers normally go 4-3-1-2 off the ball when they're really pressing on the opposition's first pass, and I'd be surprised if they do that because they will I'd imagine spend fair amounts of the game where they're sitting off in their shape. A few interesting aspects of the game. Last week, Servette didn't have many settled periods of possession. All of their or a lot of their attacks were rushed. A lot of the goalkeepers' distribution was rushed. So I wonder how that comes into it if they are able to settle more into a game and find those 4 or 5 men that they're going to try and get in the last line if they have a little bit more control of the game. And what I would say that stands out to me right away, Euan, is the midfield. I like the look of that midfield because I think it has enough off the ball, and you've got certainly Jack and Raskin. Obviously, we've not seen much of Cifuentes, but I think from what we know, all players who are capable defensively, whether that be on an energy point of view or Raskin's ball winning or whatever. I think Jack going back to the base of midfield where you presume he'd play makes sense because he's a bit safer, a bit more secure in possession than Raskin, who at times can try the riskier pass. Maybe in a game of this nature, although you want to be offensive, you don't want to lose the ball in certain areas. He was obviously rested at the weekend as well, so he should be pretty fresh. And if you look at the front three, obviously you presume that Danilo plays as the central striker. I thought he looked more comfortable there. The game against Livingston at the weekend, Sima brings pace to the game undoubtedly, and obviously I think transitions will be a big part about all of this game. I asked Michael Beale about it at the press conference yesterday. As much as adding pace to the team for the type of game it's going to be, and I think it's about decision making, and that's probably part of the reason that Cantwell's in there. We know that he needs to play in this team. I think he's played really well in the deeper role. I think him and Lammers have played well together over the past couple of weeks, but when you're playing at maybe a slightly more robust midfield, Cantwell, I don't think you can drop him at the moment, and that's probably a little bit, you'd presume, Beale reflecting on the first game of the season where Lammers played instead of Cantwell. And I don't think that's a slight on Sam Lammers because I think he started really well. Obviously scored his first league goal at the weekend. I think he's been really strong off the ball as well, but you just need to play Todd Cantwell because I think he makes his team so much better, and he's been here that a little bit longer. So I think the decision making when Rangers do have space will be really important. You've got a lot of strong runners there in Raskin, Cifuentes, Cantwell, Sima, and Danilo hopefully can continue the scoring form he found at the weekend. No surprise to see Connor Goldson come back in, and no major changes to the back four as expected, with Beale opting for continuity there. Dujon Sterling obviously on the bench, having made his debut at the weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, when Ryan Jack and Connor Goldson were left out the squad completely at the weekend, it was pretty clear they were both going to start tonight, wasn't it? They were both kind of been rested with this game in mind, so it's no surprise to see Ryan or Connor in the team. Danilo as well, I thought looked really good in that kind of central striker role. And listening to the press conference yesterday when Michael Beale was talking about the fact that Servette have to go for this game, they need to win, and Rangers can win the ball in interesting areas. They can exploit the space in behind. As soon as they said that, that was kind of a alarm bell moment, and you think that Sima would come into the side because he has that pace. Obviously, Riley Matondo looked really good off the bench against Livingston, but he's not in the squad. He wasn't in the Champions League squad. He can't play. So it was going to be Sima that came in. I mean, what do you make of that? You think Sima can be a big player? I know you're a fan of him generally, Josh. I think he can be a big player tonight.
I think he can. Obviously, he scored his first goal at the weekend as well, which just gives Rangers a different profile of forward, and that's kind of what caught my eye when he was signed this summer, and I was watching a lot of his games at Slavia Prague. He was their standout in the Europa League campaign, and I always thought when I watched games of his when he joined Rangers this summer that he looked more comfortable off the right. I don't know where he's going to start tonight. You'd imagine it's off the right because Campbell's more comfortable off the left, and I just think that he's more comfortable creating from the right because I don't think he's a dribbler that's going to receive from deep on the left and go beyond four players. I think he more relies on being able to burst beyond people or cut the ball back, as we've seen a little bit in pre-season. And he should obviously give Rangers as well that threat of having a second number 9 in the box because he is a goal scorer as well. There's no better games than to announce yourself to a support than a European game like this. So hopefully it's a good night for him. But on the surface of things, I think it makes sense because Danilo, Lammers and Dessers as a front three haven't played much together, and I don't think any of those players have sea-room pace. Moving Danilo into the central striking role, he's looked the sharpest number 9 so far. Having Sima in there who gives you a different profile, and Cantwell kind of is the centrepiece of the side. I think looking at the team selection, there's not going to be many complaints with that because you can see the logic behind a lot of the decisions.
The other thing as well with Michael Beale having these decisions to make, it shows that there's a strong bench there as well. If he needs to make changes and impact the game, you look at Dessers, you look at Lammers, Euan Dowell came on against Livingston and done well, scored an unbelievable goal. There's options on the bench to change up, whether that's like for like or kind of switching the formation a little bit. You've seen Rangers go to that back five in the closing stages against Livingston at the weekend.
Yeah, obviously a lot of variation just looking at the bench as well. You obviously got Yanis Hadji in there who could come in. Cyril Dessers, Sam Lammers, Kieran Dowell, you're right, scored a fantastic goal, didn't he? His first goal for Rangers, and that was one of the better debut, that wasn't his debut, but Ibrox's debut goals I've seen in the league for a long time. A few young boys as well, which is, I guess, with these European squads, you have to make up the homegrown status, which comes into things. Rangers should have enough tonight. If you look back at that game in the first leg, as we were speaking about yesterday morning, the expected goals was 2.2 to 0.04 by the time that Lammers missed that chance, and he should score that chance and it should be 3-0, and then this is a totally different game, because if Rangers come with a 3-goal advantage instead of the 1-goal advantage, then I don't think it gives the crowd hope. Speaking to people around Servette, around the club, it's been interesting the last couple of days, Euan. I mean, this is a huge game for them, but in a way they've already obtained their main objective of playing European football. Remember, this is a team that were only promoted back to the top flight 4 years ago. And just speaking to a couple of people, even just now up in the Tribune before the game, I think there's more hope than expectation. But again, Servette are a side that came through a lot of adversity in the last round against Genk. I guess the difference is this time that they have to come out and attack the game. Again, even if they go behind, if they're defending a lead, I think they do carry quite a strong, quite a dangerous direct attacking threat always because of the way they build attacks. But Rangers should, I think, have enough to finish the job. It's whether they can finish off chances that they didn't really last week and make sure that they set up with a playoff tie with what looks like will be PSV, presuming that they don't. I think they travel to Sturm Graz with a 3-goal advantage. You presume that they're through to the playoff round. Rangers should have enough tonight. I think the first leg showed that, but they need to go and finish the job, and I think that's a team that's set out to attack the game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positivity around the kind of starting 11, which is not always the case when team news comes out, but Mac is saying the same. And firstly, happy anniversary, Mac. I hope you have a good meal tonight, and sorry you'll miss the game. If you are back in time from dinner, we will be live back on YouTube after the game to give a reaction to the performance. So tune into us later on YouTube if you can. A lot's been made about the heat. Ryan Jack was asked about to Joshua pre-match. You're obviously there, and firstly, went for a swim in
I
Lake
did.
Geneva. How was it?
Lovely, really enjoyed it. If anyone, whoever else is over, would definitely recommend it. Yeah, I might go again tomorrow. It depends maybe what the result is, but very much enjoyed it. So yeah, it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I was
so
going to
that
say
helps.
maybe don't go swimming tonight after a few beers if Rangers
No. I
get
don't
through.
think
But
so.
tomorrow, get that hangover in the water, make you feel
Cute,
better. But
yeah.
how much will the heat be a factor? Ryan Jack asked about it yesterday. How warm is it over there?
Yeah, it is warm. I guess if you look at the team that Rangers set out today, there's a lot of players that have played European football over the recent seasons. And they've had their whole training camp in Germany. They played a pre-season friendly in Germany, which should have been Euro over there, but I imagine quite a hot day as well. So it's going to be 8:30 by the time this game kicks off. So you're not playing at 3 in the afternoon. Just looking as well at Servette's lineup, Euan, I guess the big news for them is that Stevanovic, who's one of their key players, arguably I think their best player, he comes back onto the bench. He only trained yesterday for the first time after injury, and I don't even think he did the entire session, but he is a good option for them off the bench. Aside from that, they've got Enzo Crivelli, who comes back in, and he was suspended for the first leg. Did the press conference yesterday. One of their key players, someone who was sent off. I think it was after 4 minutes he was sent off against Genk, and he joins Bedia up front. That's a real area of danger for them. It's going to be a real important battle. Goldson and Suter up against those two tonight. I think Jack will drop back a lot to form a back five at goal kicks or other moments just to make sure Rangers have the numbers in there. Aside from that, they have on Dua, who comes back into the middle because Doolin is suspended. He was obviously sent off for 2 yellow cards against Todd Cantwell last week. But aside from that, no other changes, I think, to the team that faced Rangers at Ibrox. I could be wrong with that. But yeah, I guess the big news is that Stevanovic is back on the bench for Servette.
Michael Beale's just done Rangers TV. He said the pitch is quite sticky as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Just generally, Joshua, I mean, are you confident that this is a team and that Rangers can get the job done tonight? Because the financial incentive as well. And,
yeah, of course.
And you've got a 2-game shootout against PSV. And, it's likely to be PSV and Malik Tillman coming back to Ibrox as well to get back to the championship. It's so important to get both now.
Yeah, of course, it's such a valuable game, even this game alone, before you talk about the playoff. Listen, obviously you don't know, you can't guarantee it. This Rangers team are still very much in its infancy. And if you look at the first 3 games of the season, they obviously had the very difficult start against Kilmarnock, where it felt like more of the same, more promising signs over the past week. But you see it's still delicate. And about an hour after the Livingston game, when they're only 1-0 up and it becomes a bit of an end-to-end game, you can tell that that's still a team that isn't nearly where Michael Beale will want them to be. Johnny and I were speaking about that after the weekend. When your centre-back is the man of the match against Livingston at home, it tells you what type of game it was, even if the eventual scoreline was 4-0. I don't think you could look back in hindsight and say the wrong team was picked by popular opinion. I think overall it's a team that has enough attacking threat, but still has enough defensive profiles in there, has a lot of strong runners in the front six, as we've already mentioned. And I think Rangers will have chances. Beyond shots on goal, they'll have a lot of opportunities to exploit Servette in the middle of the pitch. They, of course, will need to defend well at points, and the type of attacks that Servette are going to build, the nature of this game, the magnitude of this game for them. I wonder how they'll deal with the pressure of a home crowd, because this is familiar territory for Rangers, playing in front of big numbers and playing in front of expectation, not so much for Servette. And they're a team, obviously, that, as we keep coming back to, have defied expectations a lot to get here, especially in the last round, where I don't think many people were looking at flights to Geneva 5 minutes into the second leg against Genk. So what you would say is it's set up for Rangers to get through. The incentive is clear, not only to make the Champions League, but to make it through this round, for the financial implications that would bring. And I think that the team is close to what a lot of people would have picked. So now up to the players to go and perform. And for the likes of Siemens, Cifuentes and Danilo, people who are really early into their careers at Ibrox, no better game to go in, no better stage to go and have a good game than a game like this.
Yep, Jose Cifuentes making his first ever European start tonight as well, obviously. So interesting to see how he played after. I think it was a very promising full debut against Livingston at the weekend. Josh, I know you've got loads to do over in Switzerland, so we'll call that there. But there'll be loads of coverage on our social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, throughout the game. And then Joshua and I will be back post-match after Michael Beale. We'll also have Michael Beale's post-match press conference in full, going up on video. So until then, Josh, I'll see you then.